So once again, a very, very good evening to all of you. I hope that you can all hear me loud and clear. For those of you who are not necessarily in my classes, my name is Kim van Looyen and I will be going through the assignment guidelines with you guys. So I'm going to sort of do it. Thank you so much for confirming that you can hear me loud and clear. The session is recorded. Just I see that there are some students who are coming in and out. Obviously, they've got some bad connection. So the session is obviously recorded, and those students who are obviously not necessarily in my group, you will receive the link from your online tutor. So as soon as it's done, it takes a few hours just to convert it, and then you will receive it from then. So you will have it, and you will be able to go through it with your, as you are doing your assignment. But your assignment is around the corner, guys, so it has to be due, well, you have to start working on it at least. So I'm hoping that everybody has at least had a chance to download it and at least has started some research on the assignment. Third year level, obviously a little bit more detailed and a lot more application, you would have noticed. So you would have noticed that the assignment does require a lot more input from you in terms of applying it to your own, with your own knowledge, and applying it to the best of your ability using the theory, but once again applying it to to what you know and applying it to the given case study, which is Netflix. So I'm going to just do the session in a way where I'm going to go through. So on the screen now is just the assignment document, which is available to you guys on the portal. You should all have the document with you, or you should have access to it as well. So just a few things that I want to clarify in the document. The first thing, obviously, you would have noticed that there are 3 questions, and the total mark is out of 100. But if you have a look, and I'll show you where they ask the questions, it's just not changing on my side the slides here, so I just want to wait 1 second just for it to move on. There we go. So they give you the referencing rubric, which we'll get to. You know that referencing is, of course, important. We're going to get to that as well. So here you can see the questions in front of you. Oh, sorry, it jumped again. So you can see question 1, question 2, question 3. Question 3 there you can see says 40 marks, but in fact it is actually only 30 marks. So each question, question 1, question 2, and question 3 are all worth 30 marks. And then the final 10 marks come from that very first rubric. We'll go through that, is for your structure, the clarity, the format of your actual assignment that you're going to go. So each question is worth 30 marks, even though there in the front page it says 40 marks. Don't let that confuse you. Those 10 marks are actually dedicated or allocated for the structure of your assignment, okay? So the first question, or all the questions, and the first thing that you guys need to do is to go and read the case study. So you'll see the case study. I'm not going to read it through with you guys. I'm just going to highlight or touch on some points before we get to the actual thing. So here's that essay, the structure. So you can see here's the structure of the report. This would be your 10 marks instead of allocating those 40 marks for question 3. So question 3 is only out of 30 marks like it would be. And you can see here is the case study that they give you. So you should have at this point read the case study. You should have done extra research on Netflix as well. Okay, so the whole case study revolves around Netflix, how it has grown, what it's doing in the market, what is its strength. They look at the mission statement for Netflix. They tell us a little bit of history about where it came from and what strategies it was using. They identify some of the opportunities that they pursued, and etc., etc. So they've given you quite a lot of information on these next pages that you can see. But as a third year student, you do also have to do your own research. So you are going to be required to do extra research. So you will have to do extra research around Netflix as you are answering the questions, okay? So each question has got a rubric that you need to follow. And yes, I do definitely agree with you, Abdullah. It's very interesting and it's quite relevant and it is very applicable, and it allows you as a student to to really engage with it, because there is no right or wrong answer as per se, as long as you can justify it. And we're going to get to that as we move along as well, okay? So I'm going to now go out of the actual assignment document and I'm going to upload guidelines. Now, before I do that, I just want to apologize in advance, because the document that is up, that I pre-uploaded onto this Blackboard Learn, when I went to go and check through it, it was missing like parts of the question one. But I've got the information here and I will send it, I will update it again to you. So I don't know why, I think when I converted it, it sort of changed it out, but I'm going to share it nonetheless, and I will send you an updated one as well to the tutors for them to upload. So just give me a second just to upload the guide. So you will notice that you have probably received this guide from your online tutor by now. You probably have received the original one, or I'm not sure if it did convert, but don't stress about it. I will upload it once again. I just want to quickly see what you say there, Dawn. I'll get your questions as well, David, before we start. It's quite difficult to give two sources plus an application. Yeah, so it is quite difficult. Remember, they do give you those extra readings, and even if it is just a sentence from another source that you would have to do. And remember, you may have read reference source and you're not actually going to include it in your answer. So you've read it as a supporting answer and perhaps it's not applicable to you, but you still used that source. So I hope that also makes sense. So it doesn't mean that everything that you read or that you have read and research is going to be included in your answer. Remember, part of research is also deciding what are you going to include, what backs up or supports your standpoint or your viewpoint on the answer and what doesn't, okay? So if you've got it might just be one particular sentence out of those 500 or 600 words, then you would be able to do that. But 500 words, let's say, is quite a short paragraph or report you have to write. So you do need to really be concise and to the point. Do not repeat yourself, because you can't afford to with this little word count that they've given you. So I know that it is difficult. Remember, the textbook is also just there for those explanations. So I would suggest, and you'll see as we're going along, I will say as well, but I would suggest using the textbook for explanations, the brief explanations, which form part of the first section of each of the questions, and then the other research to back up your answer as well. But we'll get into that in a little bit more detail as well. The Herald had an interesting article yesterday on Netflix partnering with development. Yes, I also read that, and it was very interesting, Dawn, and I've actually made a screenshot, or I copied that. I will be posting that as well as an extra reading for the students. But it was very, very interesting, because Netflix is quite a powerful platform because of all the users, the viewers that they get. So it is very, very good to have all these ideas, and there is a wealth of information out there with Netflix, with its competitors, with other strategies that you can use. So it is quite a diverse topic, but a very interesting topic. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to get into question one, and then I'll move through all three questions. So you just need to listen for a few minutes, and then at the end, I will open up for questions and answers. So you'll see here, question one has kind of just jumped out. I'm not 100% sure why. I will fix it though. As I was uploading it onto VC Learn this afternoon before the session, I realized that it had done, but it's a PDF, so I can't fix it on here. It won't allow me to make the changes on here. But don't stress, I'm going to give you the information for this question. I'm going to also type it up just for the students who are listening and who will be reading it. So the reference page numbers for question one is page number 27, page 27. So I'm just typing that up for you guys. Can you not read it? Is it too small for you, Dawn? I can read it on my side. Shall I make it bigger for you guys? Okay, wait a second. I'm going to have to just see. I don't even know where to zoom in. Just wait, guys. Give me a second. Where is the use? Here, okay, I get it. Thanks. Oh, there you go. Thanks, guys. I did know that. Okay, say when for you guys. Is that a bit better? Do you want it to be students? It appears garbled. Sorry, guys. There you go. It was fun on my side, but maybe that's because I'm reading it here. So I didn't realize it was so zoomed out on yours. There we go. So remember, just to reiterate, question 1 is worth 30 marks. You're going to be looking at page 27. So that is your actual reference from the textbook. What are you going to do here? You're going to be comparing the two perspectives, okay? So in your textbook, they in that learning unit, they've got the difference between what is inside out and what is outside in, okay? So your first standpoint is to decide and understand what are the differences between the two. So you'll see in the actual question, they're going to ask you to choose what Netflix is following, but as a starting point, as a first starting point, you need to understand the differences between the two. So you need to have a good understanding of what is the differences between the two. Now, obviously, guys, you only have 600 words. There's a word limit on this. So you can't go and write everything about inside out and everything about outside in. You've got to be very careful in what you're selecting and make it concise for your argument. But as a starting point, you will see the first thing that you need to be doing is writing, explaining each of these concepts, okay? So some of the suggestions, you could start with inside out. You could look at strategic leaders who are using this. They are designed and developed around the organization's dynamic capability. So you can go a little bit about detail about what are these dynamic resources, what are their capabilities, what is the architecture, what are the goals, etc. So that could be a starting point for inside out. Then very briefly explain what is the outside approach. You could also use, you could just say that this is the market-driven strategy, it's the industrial organizational model, and you can also use it to say that this is where they are going to be looking for opportunities in the external market. Okay, so step 1 here is really just to explain each one, compare the two, so give us a good give the reader a good understanding of what it is. So you would presume that they don't know, you know, that they don't understand what it is, and then you could use your words to then explain the differences between the two, okay? So that would be the first point. Remember, it has to be, it says so in your assignment as well. I'll get to your answer now, Dinashni, as well. It's got to be brief. So a very brief explanation of each one. List a few differences or explain a few differences. So what is the distinguishing factors between the two? Remember, outside in is looking for the external opportunities, whereas inside is looking for what I do inside, what are my internal strengths, what are my dynamic capabilities, my own capabilities, what resources do I have as an organization. So that's the main difference, and you can then elaborate on that and build on that as you go along. So that's the first part of your answer to this question, and then obviously the second part is to then apply it to Netflix. Now Dinash is asking, you have an allowance for the word count. You can go a little bit over, but obviously, guys, I wouldn't say more than 100 over, okay? So each online tutor would have a different standpoint, but I think the general consensus would be 100 words either way, okay? So try and keep it concise for it. And Salome, we're going to go through the rubric, which tells us exactly how many we're going to get for application. So as soon as I've just given you the information, I will tell you exactly how the marks are going to be allocated according to the rubric, okay? So you've got The beginning part would then just be theory, would just be your understanding of the theory, setting the tone for the rest of your report that you're going to be writing as a recommendation for Netflix. If you guys could just give me a second, I just want to quickly go and get that rubric as well. It's not in this particular one, but I will go and upload it and send it onto those OTs for you guys as well. Yes, so just at the end of each question, just put a little in brackets the word count for your online tutor. It just makes it easier for them when they are marking, okay? But try not to stress too much about the word count, obviously, because it's obviously a big assignment. You've obviously got 2 assignments, which means that there is a lot more marking for the online tutors. So we don't want to have these excessive amounts of things. We often find that students say really a lot when they can actually say it in a concise way, which is much better for you guys and obviously for the OT when it comes to marketing. So to marking. So just put the word count at the end as well. So you've now written your introduction, you've said what inside out and what outside in is, and now you're going to get into the crux of this question, which is following Netflix. So you're going to read through the case study again, do extra research, find out which one do you think, which perspective do you think Netflix is predominantly using. So in your research that you're doing, which one do you think Netflix is following? Okay, so do you think that they are predominantly following an inside out, or predominantly the perspective is an outside in? So you are going to determine which one it is, okay? And here is the key, guys. There is no right or wrong answer. It is as long as you are able to justify it, argument for your standpoint that you are saying. Justify it, back it up, find the research that supports your viewpoint or what you are saying, okay? So if you're going inside out, you need to have statements, research that is backing up that viewpoint, okay? And vice versa. If you, yeah, so whichever one you are choosing or whichever one you say that they are doing, you need to then just justify it to actually support it, okay? And then as part of that chat or as part of that report that you are writing, you are then also going to look for recommendations. So you're going to then provide Netflix with recommendations on the approach and how they can improve it or strengthen it. So you might, just as an example, you might say, Netflix is using an inside-out approach. This is because of X, Y, and Z. However, I recommend that they rather use an outside-in approach because it would benefit them in such a way. So obviously then you would just elaborate on each of those points that you've said, but that's the type of typical report that you would be using. Or the inside-out approach is this, and Netflix is doing that according to what their capabilities are, and they are focusing on this, which means that they are pursuing an inside-out perspective. And in order to strengthen that, the recommendations is for them to use this, and this, and that would be your recommendations. Do not give recommendations. So please don't say that Netflix is doing everything right and that they are perfect in every way possible, okay? Because even though you may think that they are, you still need to have recommendations and or give them a strategy that they can implement in order to improve. Okay, so what how could they strengthen that link between the two markets? So what can they do to make sure that their inside-out approach and their outside-in approach is linked, and that they are not forgetting anything between the two of them? Okay, so that they are looking at all the opportunities, but not sacrificing any of their own strengths, or not improving on their weaknesses from their internal markets. So that's question one. If you have to look at the rubric, okay, so if you look at the end of the rubric, you get exactly, and this was someone's question, so Lumi's question as well, you get exactly 15 marks for theory and 15 marks for application, okay? So the question is divided up into 15 marks if you've got theory, and if your theory is linked to what you are saying, okay? So don't just go and say, give me theory about business management in general. Your theory that you are using must be synthesized. It must be linked to what we are busy talking about, to what is required from the question, okay? So you'll see if you haven't got a lot of theory, or if you have very poor theory, or your theoretical structure is not very good, you will only get 30% for that section. If you've got enough theory there, but your argument needs a bit more support, so you haven't backed your argument up with theory, then you're going to get 50%. And then obviously an excellent or above that would be thorough knowledge. You've displayed thorough knowledge of inside out or outside in. Your statements that you are saying are all supported by theory, by examples, by references. Your answer is comprehensive, and you've linked up the theory into the application as well. And then the remaining 15 marks would then be for your application. So what examples have you used from Netflix? What real life examples or references have you actually got from that? And have you substantiated using examples from the case study, from your research specifically relating to Netflix? So those would be your application. Application is to Netflix. How well do you understand Netflix's approach? So not the approach, the theory about it, but how well do you display Netflix's inside-out approach or outside-in approach, or both, or whatever the case may be. So that's question one, okay? And you're going to obviously do it, reference it. It's a formal document like it would be. It's a proper assignment that you would write, and just put your word count then at the end of each question. So I'm going to move on to question two. I will allow for questions at the end of the session. So I'm just moving on to question two, which is here. You should be able to see it on your screen. And once again, I find it's a very interesting question to know. They give us the mission statement of Netflix, okay? We promise our customers stellar service, our suppliers a valuable partner, our investors the prospects of sustained profitable growth, and our employees the allure of huge impact. And that is the mission statement of Netflix, okay? And they give that to you, and now it's your job to go and analyze it and to look a little bit deeper into this mission statement for Netflix, and obviously unpack why a mission statement is so important. So you can see what you're going to look at first is provide, okay, there's the reference numbers that you can use, or the page numbers between 82 and then 86 and 87 is where you'll find more information just in your textbook regarding mission statements. But obviously there's a wealth of information out there that you obviously will use as well. So step one, write an introduction to your report. What is a mission statement? What is the purpose thereof? What it is used for. So what does a mission statement do? Why would a business have a mission statement? What is it used for? So that's the first part that you would be doing again there. So that's your theory that you would be using. And then we're going to specifically, in the second part of the question, we're going to analyze in detail Netflix's mission statement. So they give us the mission statement, and we are now going to be analyzing it. So the first step that they encourage us to do is to apply the questions that should be answered by a typical mission statement. questions like what types of products are they selling, what is the vision, the employees. So any of the questions you would then unpack, state as part of the theory, and apply it to Netflix, okay? So part of the mission statement is to answer the question, what are we doing for our customers, say for example, and then we're going to be saying Netflix follows that or does that well because they are telling their customers X, Y, and Z, and that is exactly the purpose of a mission statement. You could get to one where you say a mission statement is supposed to show us where the business is going in the future, for example. Netflix is not doing that, so they therefore need to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, so those were just some examples of how it would be structured for each of those questions. There is a wealth of different knowledge available here, so you don't have to specifically use those questions. There are a lot of other questions that you can also implement here in this question. So you are encouraged to do extra research. It doesn't only have to be what is falling into the textbook. It can be independent research, like I've said there. So you can find them in the textbook, but you can also do your own research for this, okay? And you can apply those questions as long as you are analyzing the mission statement. So you need to analyze it in detail. Okay, so this is going to be a lot of work that you're going to get here. Remember that part of your 15 marks for theory is going to come in this section as well. So you're not only going to get 15 marks for the introduction where you're telling me or your online tutor what a mission statement is. You need to actually analyze the mission statement by using the question. So in this middle section, this body of your report where you are analyzing, you're going to have a mixture again of the theory and of the application. And then to round it off, you're going to recommend changes. So you might have said that Netflix's mission statement is very, very good. You need to at least find some recommendations of what they could do. So recommend any changes that Netflix can make to make it more comprehensive. Is it impactful? Is it not? How can they improve it? Develop a mission statement which in your opinion would be suitable, okay? So you could then rewrite it almost. What would it suitable? It can just be a slight change in it. If you're saying that Netflix's mission statement does not need to be changed, it's perfect as is, you need to again find justification for why you're saying that. So if you're saying that you would not recommend any changes because the mission statement is really fulfilling its purpose, which is to do X, Y, and Z, and Netflix is getting it spot on, you wouldn't change it. If you changed it, you think you would lose customers or lose the impact, as long as, again, you can hear it as I'm speaking that it is justifying what you are saying. So let me just get the other questions here. Can we make comparison with Netflix's competitors? You definitely can use it as part of your argument. Remember, as long as you do remember, however, that you are actually focusing on Netflix. So you might be able to use it as part of your justification. But remember, we don't spend too much time explaining what the competitors are doing. So if you are comparing it to prove a point for Netflix, by all means you can compare the competitors. Should we apply our knowledge to the recommendations, or should we get sources for the improvements? I'm not 100% sure what you mean, David, but in your recommendations, you would have analyzed, in the beginning part, you would have analyzed their mission statement. So you would have had a viewpoint on whether you think that the mission statement is good or not, okay? And how they can improve would be your knowledge for it. So you don't need to get, oh, you mean like sources on the internet for improvements. You don't, yeah, it would be your opinion for that. So you wouldn't need to go and try and find a new mission statement for it or anything like that. You could really just try and, in your own mind and from your own theories that you would have read, what you could do. Okay, so if you need more clarification, just ask David. That's fine. So yeah, you can do that as well for that. So then keep your mission statement according to what it is, short and sweet, guys, okay? Remember, you do again have a word a word limit, a word counter, put it at the end. And there really is no right or wrong answer here. You might be sitting here in this class tonight amongst 30 other students and think to yourself, that mission statement was brilliant. It was phenomenal. It really meant a lot to me. I would not want to change anything because it is impactful, because of all the research I've done. It proves this and this and this. On the other hand, you might be sitting here and thinking, I didn't even know what that meant. It went right over my head. I would rather, as a Netflix consumer or user, I would rather change it to this because, and then theory. So back it up with theory. So it is your opinion, but it's not just sucking it out. It's not just your opinion that you've sucked out of your thumb. You've got to back it up with that relevant theory. I wouldn't necessarily say for every bullet point, but I would say for every sort of statement or group of statements that you are making, back it up with theory and application. And most definitely, the case study is part of your application, and then, no, that would be application. Theory is the research behind it. Anything that is to do with Netflix, which is the case study, would be application. So theory is the theory that you'd find in your textbook or any other databases, online journals that you've used for that. Would be then your theory. Yes, David, can just be on Netflix. Like someone says, unless you are comparing it or as part of your application, you are using a competitor to justify your point, everything is going to be on Netflix. Okay, so your main application is indeed for Netflix. So you'll see in your rubric that you've got, and you've got these rubrics attached to your assignment document. You'll see that all the application is based on Netflix. So get between 11 and 15 marks for application. It says an in-depth analysis of Netflix's mission statement. Okay, you need to really look at what Netflix is doing and how you can improve that. Comprehensive recommendations for Netflix. Okay, a new mission statement that is developed, which includes the recommendations. So your whole structure's got a lot of effort, a lot of extra research that you would have put into it. And that is question 2 for the 30 marks, okay? So again, you're getting 15 marks for your theory, which will come throughout the report, and then 15 marks for analyzing the statements and applying the theory, okay? And obviously for rewriting the mission statements or implementing changes that you think would boost the mission statement for Netflix. And then the last question, for question 3 that we've got here, is also quite a bit of theory in the beginning and then moving on to the application as we go along. So question 3, again 30 marks, not 40 marks like it was on one of those pages. It is definitely 30 marks. Quite a lot of information in your textbook, so you'll find it between page 62 and 71 of your textbook. And here we are looking at shared value and inclusive business. So we are looking at those 2 terms and how they can be used in each of these business scenarios, or how Netflix eventually will use these as part of their strategic plan. So firstly, define shared value, define inclusive business. So provide a brief around what is the purpose of it, explain how they are used in business, what are each of these concepts, so define each of them. Why should a business pursue shared value? Why should they try and aim for an inclusive business approach? Okay, so outline the concept of each one, give definitions for them, and elaborate on why business should be implementing it. So the first part of your question here is not related to Netflix as such, but it is just unpacking those specific concepts that you would use. And then we move on to the last 2 bullet points, which is again at Netflix and deciding on whether or not Netflix is implementing these concepts or not. And again, you can see here, providing examples to support your answer. Okay? So you're going to provide examples. You're going to say, Netflix is promoting a concept of shared value because Netflix is not promoting inclusive business because they are not doing X, Y, and Z. Support it, justify it from the case study, from external research that you would have done, but it is related once again back to Netflix. Okay, and from that you are going to make recommendations. You're going to propose ways in which Netflix can improve their approach to shared value and inclusive business, beg your pardon. You're going to make those recommendations on how they need to change it. How can they see the value in what they are doing? So how are they able to implement it, and how would they actually see the value in strengthening their shared value approach and their inclusive business approach? So that is basically what you're going to be doing here. So again, using Netflix to explain or to elaborate on those things. So you're going to say, yes, Netflix is shared value. No, it's not inclusive business. So you're going to apply it. You're going to evaluate it according to Netflix. And again, guys, there's no right or wrong answer here. The beauty lies in how you can apply it, how you can justify it. You might say that they've got concepts or there are elements of shared value in their business approach, but they are not entirely pursuing an inclusive business approach. So they might be doing one and not the other, neither, both. It's entirely up to you, as long as you can justify your answer and then use that justification, use what you've said to make the recommendations, to appeal to Netflix to change certain things in their shared value and inclusive business approaches. So that basically, again, the rubric that you've got access to, I can share it with you as well, but you do have it on your actual assignment document. 15 marks for the theory and the synthesis between it, and then 15 marks for an in-depth evaluation of Netflix's approach to shared value and inclusive business. So a thorough reflection on Netflix would be your application. So that's basically all from my side that I can think to actually tell you. Remember, guys, referencing is important as always. In-text referencing, referencing this, justify your work, Arial 12 font, so it's the same like you would do. Give it a cover page, so write your correct information on it. I'm just going to get to the questions now as well. So Dinashni is asking, where do we submit this assignment? Remember, the assignment is submitted through SafeSign on VC Learn. So where you would normally submit your assignments, there's that tab that says assignment, then you click onto it, tick the integrity declaration or whatever it is for your assignment, then you upload it as part of your assignment 1. This is assignment 1 for BMNG 7311W. So it is on VC Learn. You submit it through SafeSign as you have been doing in the past as well. The rubric guideline, there is a specific rubric that I was referring to. I can share that with you as well. Is on the rubric, you have it already. So I'm just going to stop sharing this particular guideline. So I'm just quickly going to share the actual rubrics. Those are available to you as part of your assignment. So if you look now, it will be on your screen. This is the rubric that you've got access to, but it's part of your actual assignment. So I'm just going to show you, and then you can see what I'm talking about. And these guidelines, I'm not sure if any of your OTs have posted them up yet, but in any case, just almost use question 3 for that, but question 1 I will go and post as well and send on to the OTs for them to upload as well. So you can see here, and I'm just going to make it a bit smaller so that you guys can all see it. It's just a little bit slow when it do. But these are the guidelines that you will find in your actual assignment copy. Your actual assignment that you would have downloaded from the portal. There's all these rubrics that I was referring to. So you can see there's quite a few of them here. So this particular assignment is not going to be uploaded onto VC Learn for you because you've got it available. Let's just do that. So you can see it's over here. I just want to go and see who did ask that question. Abdullah, so here is the rubric. This is what it looks like, and this is exactly what I was talking about as part of, but it is in your assignment document, so you do have access to it straight away. And all your OTs, whichever group you are in, all the OTs are going to be marking according to the rubrics that you are given. So we are all marking according to the same rubric. So every single OT for this module across the board is going to be using this rubric for question 1 and question 2, question 3, and obviously for the 10 marks for the general appearance as well. And Eddie, yes, they do give you those extra resources that you can use, and you are welcome to only use them. They are very good, they are very interesting, but if you've obviously found extra resources, you can include them. But for that particular question, if you have found information in those sources, you are welcome to use them as your sources, yes. I would say for all the questions, you would need them, but remember they can be the same sources for each thing. So I'm just going to read all the other questions as well. So let me just to answer your questions. Those 2 additional resources are for every question that you would have, and the reason why we've done that, or why the National Office does it, is because they don't only want you to use the textbook. They really do want you to use external resources to back your answer and to support your answer. So you might have used the same resource for 2 questions. That is fine, as long as you've got an array of resources that you have used, okay? So we want to be able to see as the online tutors that you have really researched beyond the textbook and beyond the case study that they have given you. So we want to be able to see that you have researched a little bit more than just what you are doing. Sasha, I'm going to answer your question now as well. Do we need to talk about the 3 dimensions in regards to shared value as part of our answer when we answer that question? So Sasha, that's up to you. If your approach is focusing on those 3 dimensions, so if you're specifically focusing on them and you want them to be included because you are relating them back to Netflix, so you need the reader to understand exactly what they are and where they fit into, by all means, you can include them. If, however, you are focusing on shared values with regards to customer value or customer orientation, customer relationship management, so you're taking that approach to shared value, then you can leave out the dimensions and focus on what you think is relevant to Netflix. So as long as you, again, are able to relate it to your argument, there's not enough word count to explain everything. So make sure if you are talking about the 3 dimensions that you are then specifically relating it to Netflix, like I say, otherwise you're going to waste words on information that you might not necessarily get marks for. So Eddie's asking, this assignment guideline, are you going to upload it for us? I don't know which group everyone is in, but I know VCOL 1, so the first group, I have uploaded in your more resources. So that's for my group that I've got. It is in your more resources folder, but this document has also been emailed and shared with all the OTs, so your OTs do have access to it, and I'm sure that they will be posting it soon as well. So I will double check with them, but I'm sure they will be posting it, but the link for the recording will also be shared with you. But yes, you definitely do have access to this guideline. So like I say, this particular one that is up here, question 1, is not there. It's been left out for some reason, but the one that you will have on your portal or your BC Learn in your more resources will have that question 1. So I'm just quickly going to read Abdullah's question again. Yes, so I'm sure that does explain that answer a little bit more for you, Abdullah. So you will have access to the guidelines that we have just got as well. So the actual, the other document where it is, you do have access to that as well. Like I said, I'm sure your online tutor will be putting it up for you soon because they do have access to it. I have shared it all with them. So I will just send them a reminder just to ask them to upload those for you as well. And they will also share the recording with you. You don't need a content page. So just to answer Dinoshni's question, you don't need a content page for each of your sort of separate reports. So for question 1, 2, and 3, but your assignment will have a contents page. So you will have an assignment content page, but you don't have to give each of your reports per se a content page. So you just need to do one for the assignments. Caitlin is asking if there's a specific layout for the report. Not a specific layout, as long as it sticks to the guides of what you would be doing for an assignment. Okay, so your report will obviously have your cover page, your content page, which would be your normal assignment, and then you can go and do a normal layout. Okay, so your questions that you're answering are, if you answer them as per those bullet points that they give you in your question. So if I can just go back here to the actual question, it automatically tells you how to structure your assignment, because if you have to just look here, the brief introduction is to form part of your introduction. Then the middle part is the body of your report, and then your recommendations is your conclusion. So if you just stick to these bullet points, you've automatically got, if you can look here, you've already got an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So if you just stick to that for each of the questions, that is the structure of the report, and it's sort of a natural structure that they give you as part of your, as part of the questions. So I hope that answers your question, Caitlin. And let me just move on again to the other questions. I'm going to get to all the questions, guys. No, they are all essay type questions, David. So David's asking if they're all essay types or do we need bullet points. They are indeed essay type questions. Avoid bullet points as far as possible, and just stick to writing the essay like I've explained it, the introduction, body, and then conclusion. So Ruan, just to answer your question, the recording are all recorded. So obviously this recording is in Group 1 section. It takes a while to convert, so it's not automatically converted. Once it has converted, then I will download the recording and your online tutor will pop it in your more resources space for you. But I'm sure that would only happen tomorrow or whatever, because it does take a while to convert the actual recording to the video that you will be receiving as part of it. But the recording will be shared with your specific online tutor, and they will upload it in the more resources folder, and you will also receive an announcement once they have done that. So they're all instructed to make an announcement when they've uploaded the recording and tell you where you can access it. But it should be in the more resources folder. Yeah, so if you are in VCOL 1, so if in the first group, your recording, like I say, is under your collab. So your recordings are automatically saved under your collab space. So you will have almost more instant access to it, but it still takes a few hours to convert it, but you are still able to find it in there. It won't necessarily be in your more resources folder, but you do have access to it as well. But everybody, no matter what group you're in, every student for this module will receive the recording. So I hope that answers all of the questions. So you can number it, question 1, question 2, question 3, Eddie, that would be perfect. Yeah, so write question 1 and answer question 1, question 2, and question 3, definitely. Yes, each question is seen as a report, and obviously the final sort of thing would be for that to be presented almost to Netflix in a report document. So each one is sort of report, and then they would all be explaining to Netflix what they should do for their mission statement, for their shared value, etc. Shalina, page 3, number 4. How should we answer? Okay, let me just go back to page 3. So I'm just going to answer that question quickly, and then Andrea or Andrea, I will give you a. Are you talking about page 3 of the assignment? I'm just going back to it so I can check. Yes, please. Okay, let's have a look here. Number 4. So this would be, this is obviously at the end of your questions you would then do. So you'll see for your, in that rubric that you've got for the content or the structure of it, you would just need to put in a conclusion, okay? So that would just be tying it up. So you could say something like, Netflix is a very good brand at the moment. They are doing well. This is partly because they've got a very good mission statement and because they are approaching their business using shared value. The only thing I could recommend was perhaps that they move to a more outside-in approach, and this would allow them to focus more on their opportunities for them. So that would just be your conclusion, is just to generally tie everything up. So you would mention one thing, 1 or 2 things from each of the questions and keep it short, between 250 and 300 words. Referencing is not part of the word count, David, so that is completely separate. Yeah, so that was actually a good question, Shalina, that you asked there, because we actually didn't go through the conclusion. So it was very good that you brought it up. So your conclusion just ties everything in place, and then you could just yeah, so maybe mention 1 or 2 things, like I say, from each of the questions, and then that would be it. Add your references, and obviously if you've got appendices, you could add them in. So Andrea, I'm listening to you. You're welcome to ask your question. Or Andrea, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm just going to see here. I'm not sure if you would like to. Shame, sorry. You're welcome to type it up. I'll wait for you to type it. So yeah, best of luck everybody for the assignment. I do trust that you will enjoy it, because yeah, as an online tutor, it was an exciting assignment for me to sort of read through and to prepare for the sessions. And do let us know if you need anything. Send your online tutor an email. They are more than willing to help. We do all work together, so we are very consistent with the marking and all that. Yeah, so just good luck. Start working on it. You should have already started working on it, but yeah, have a good Easter for those of you who are celebrating Easter. Enjoy the long weekend, and do spend some time working on your assignments as well. If there are no further questions from specific students, I know, Andrea, you're still typing up your question, so I will still remain online for those. But for any other student who is comfortable with it and who has no questions, you are welcome to log off. And once again, I just thank each and every one of you for taking time to join. It's always nice when students engage and are actually proactive. It means a lot to us. So have a wonderful evening further, and we will be chatting soon again. Take care, everyone. I will obviously stay online for those students who have got questions. Andrea, I'm reading your question now. I'm not 100% sure on that, but each question itself is specifically, it's for that and will be treated as a report, but they are technically all linked in a way because they are all for Netflix, okay? So I think what perhaps, but I will also clarify it then and make sure we get back to you. But technically they are generally all linked because they are all for the same company. So for example, I think what he perhaps meant, if I look at it from my own understanding, is in one question. So in question 1, you are saying that Netflix is not doing so well because they are following an inside-out approach. They are only focusing on their own strengths. They are forgetting to look at the opportunity. So in question 1, you've said that Netflix is only looking internally, but then all of a sudden in question 2, when it comes to mission statement, you say, oh, Netflix is doing so well. They love taking new opportunities, because then your questions are not linked. You're giving different information for the company. So if you've said question 1 that Netflix is really doing well to focus on the internal strength, and you've said in question 2 that Netflix is still continuing to focus on their strengths, and that comes through in their mission statement, and then in question 3 you've answered that the shared value is, that is a natural link in all your questions. So I think what they may have meant is that there's no disparity between the two, between any of the questions. So if you've said Netflix is really bad in the first question, you kind of need to stick to that idea through all of them in each of the reports. But again, I can also clarify that a little bit more with you, but that's kind of my first reaction would be to the question. So I will again stay online if anybody else has any questions. I see my screen is just buffering now, so I'm sure you can still hear me, or I'm hoping you can still hear me. You should be able to, I think everything is still okay. So if you've got a question, you can ask. Just give me a second here. I just want to. I hope I haven't missed any questions here, guys. If I have, please send an email. You're welcome to do that as well. Go watch the recording if you need to as well. Yeah, so keep them separate, but obviously that continuity link, like I say, would also be part of that. Let me know if there are any other questions. I think I have covered them all. Oh, wait, there's Salome. Sorry, Lars, should we do a little conclusion? No, you don't have to do a conclusion for every question. Remember, your recommendations, Salome, will form part of your form part of the conclusion, and then for the entire assignment, you're going to do a conclusion. So you don't have to do a separate conclusion. Your recommendations and your recommendations and your things for Netflix form part of your conclusion. So that would be part of it, but you don't have to go into a separate one. No problem. Thanks, Andrea.